Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host and obviously a renegade, and thus my renegade red bandana. It's an inside joke. But I greet you all with the love and the honor of the infinite creator, especially with as you deserve. Now, I'm kind of in a snarky mood, if you will. Kind of been listening to and catching up to some things. And I've been involved in science all my life. I'm almost 67, and so I consider myself fairly knowledgeable on a broad spectrum of things because my interest has been. I mean, I was in college for astronomy. I was in college for other things. I've taken courses. I was an engineer. Well, actually, I still am an engineer, but just retired. Um, so I've been listening to many of these folks who try to they try to explain spirituality from a scientific point of view. And I listen and I listen, and there are times when I just want to reach out and grab these folks and go, "Did you just hear what you just said? This is fact based on scientific theory." What? This is fact based. I heard this earlier. Hello, Pamela. I found you much more knowledgeable and gregarious than the majority of the spiritual community. Blessings to you, Pamela. And I put some warnings in this. You know, if some people are trying to think within certain realms, man, oh man, oh man, oh man, they're they're creating their own box to live in. And I'm listening to these folks, and they're really trying. They think, um, cosmic hugs to you, Pamela. I mean it. Um, Maybe we can have coffee someday. Who knows? Uh, I ain't dead yet. I keep going through through that thing. But I'm listening to these folks, and they're really serious. They're really trying to give important information that they think is necessary. But in it, they're trying to convince everybody that we're part of an artificial intelligence matrix. And why is everybody trying to convince the other person that's all about artificial intelligence? Well, because in their scientific theoretical minds, and a theory is just that. Well, I have a theory that one of these days I'm going to learn how to walk on water. I didn't say I wanted to be God, or be Jesus. I just have a theory that one day I'm going to learn how to walk on water. Now, does that mean it's really going to happen? Well, I have enough information about metaphysics and other realms and so forth to where maybe with a little bit of practice, I literally can. I know I can walk easy on mud. I haven't tried water because it's not near as dense as mud, but I already know that it can work. And physically, because of my own experience with it, and somebody would like to say, well, it's the compound pressure of your feet against the thing. No, it's my thinking. I'm very light. I'm not going to get stuck in the mud. It's my spiritualness that's overriding the physical bounds of this 3D matrix that people are just they're trying to oh my God, I can't believe how much they're. And people who are like spiritually involved are like, no, well, I was a computer analyst and I did something, and I started out in DOS. So did I. Well, and I did this and I did that and help with it. Well, in a lot of ways, as an engineer and working with 3D graphics and so forth, so did I. I didn't present certain things, but I taught a lot of people. I passed on the information. I taught people from um, Ramblin' Neck from Georgia Tech how to use AutoCAD. They used to call me when they got back to school. What was that shortcut again, Mr. Dave? Anyway, to the point, some of these folks think that the rest of us are a bunch of idiots. That those of us who have worked on computers, well, then the universe must just be dots and zeros. Well, now now that the scientists with their theories, they discuss, oh well, but in a quantum, a one can be a zero or neither or both at the same time. Well, now wait a minute now. Hang on. So all these folks that started in DOS, which I did, and basic programming, the commands basic, seem to think that the rest of us are a bunch of nitwits. But wait a minute, hang on. Now, one of the things that I find lacking with some of these folks who try to describe the spiritual through science, and again, they automatically they come out swinging. Well, uh, um, in science, the theory is, that blah 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 blah, and they go, well, they talk about time as a constant. Well, and then at the same time, out of the other side of their mouth, as anyway, they say, well, time is relative. Well, if it's relative, then how is it a constant? What? The huge lie that they keep selling to everybody, that the speed of light is constant. It's not. It's an average. So these folks who know all of this empirical knowledge, that's basically, when you get right back to it, is based upon theory, not fact. The reason they had to average out the speed of light was because everybody that was trying to measurement, guess what? They were having different, well, mine come up like this. Well, mine's like that, and this one's like this. So they came up with an average speed. Oh. Well, wait a minute, but you're using it as a constant, but it's average. Now you're saying that you're going to use this if it's not even a constant on our own planet, between scientists who are trying to establish the speed, if you will. They're going to use that same theory and that same science to tell you and me that the rest of the universe works based upon these facts, based upon theories, averages. Well, is time a constant? No, it's relative. I was out on the lake last night. It didn't seem like 4 hours went by, but at the same time, it seemed like a day went by. But then again, it only seemed like 2 hours instead of 4. But so time is relative, even within a certain time span. I mean, there are times when, when I was in school, look at the clock and go, it's crap. It's only 2 minutes later, and then be working on something, and you look up and go, wait a minute. I still got 2 more answers to this question. How come time went so fast? So people say, well, it's getting faster nowadays. It's been altering ever since I've been born. Some things seem fast, some things seem slow. Is it my relative position with what the clock says? Is it my actions and interactions in this 3D dimension? Well, but everything is relative. Time is relative. That's one of the things that Einstein said. So it's relative to the observer. And the observer can alter what they're observing. It's there. So here are all these folks trying to convince the rest of us nimwads who don't know what we're talking about, but yet this is how it should be. This is how we should all think, but it's all based on conjecture, which is theory. I think maybe I could, I think blah, blah, blah. Here's something. Everybody's talking about the matrix. I have discussed this, and I'm going to bring it up here. If you choose to believe that you're a part of this AI matrix, goodbye. In my realm as a shaman in training, the AI matrix, which can be unplugged and plugged in, and I can turn this thing off, versus what the ancients who have been talking about this for many, 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 many long times. The spider web of the universe. Now they're calling it and I'm on with the Thunderbolts project and these folks that think about the universe as being connected electrically, the electric universe. I'm 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 more with them than a lot of these other guys. But even they are missing something. And what they're missing is they're living on this planet and trying to make the universe fit Earth. It doesn't work that way. If we go to the moon, we got to act like the moon. We can't act like on Earth. If we go to Mars, we can't act like Earthlings. We're going to have to act like Martians. If we go anywhere, as in Rome, do as the Romans. If I'm from America and I go to Italy, I'm going to have to learn some language. If I want to order pasta bazoola, I'm going to, hey, pasta bazoola. Never mind. It's a bad joke from way back. But the idea is, though, I'm going to be an American in another country, but I'm going to be in Italy. And the time that I spend in Italy is going to be Italy's time. It's not going to be Eastern Standard Time or day's time here on the farm. It's going to be Italy's time. Well, wait a minute. Don't those exist at the same time? Well, no. If I'm in Italy, I'm going to be in Italy's time. So I can't exist or can I exist in two places at once? Well, they say that if we're a part of the matrix and I'm a hologram, then therefore this must be an avatar. So that must mean that the rest of my consciousness is someplace else. Now I know damn well and good that my essence does not reside in this box. I have talked about this before because I allow my essence to be downloaded in this thing. I have given my free will. But when I'm through, I turn the computer off. I have a cell phone that it works, but because I realize that with these devices, I am therefore attached to the digital matrix. However, in the shaman's world, the Spider-Woman matrix still exists, even if you're in the digital matrix. Now, why does this matter? It matters a lot. There are people who are like, well, it kind of all makes sense, that this is sort of a hologram and that this is a thing. Don't be convinced. Please don't go down that route. Because if you decide to believe that the AI matrix is it, you've now just created your own jail. And you ain't getting out because now you're locked into their point of view. Spider-Woman, Spiderweb galaxy universe is so ancient. It goes so far back. And now science is, quote, proving the Spider-Woman theory. Not that the beast, not that the being exists. Beast, sorry about that. Not that the being exists, but that we are connected as in a spider web. Now, for folks who want to say, well, I'm a hologram. Well, in the spider web universe, in a way, I am a hologram. Because if we had a soul and I came back into this as part of reincarnation, then this isn't really me. It's me this time around. So does that make this body a hologram then? Is this then an avatar for the soul and the soul contract that I signed to do this job I'm doing now? So I was someplace else before I came into here. So many of us know that, some other existence, we were some other place. We did something else. How did I know how to play the piano? There are some kids at 3 years old, they're virtuosos. Do you think that they carried that on from some other place? And what's wrong with that? What's to say that your child wasn't Eubie Blake Okay, so it's a little Chinese girl, but the way she plays is like the style of UB Blake, who was like 98 when he died. He wrote so much music back at the turn of the last century, at the beginning of 1904. Some of his music was even written in the 1890s, late 1890s. And a little short black man, but could play the stuff out of a piano. And all the old silent movies and all that old honky tonk music, UB Blake wrote most of it, you know. And if he didn't, his style of music is what um, led other people to create other types of that type of music. Anyway, but to the point. So, but most people don't get that. Were you a student of the music from the turn of the century? Well, because I was looking into silent films and the music that was played behind it, I found out about UB Blake. But my point is, a lot of people, well, who's that? And why does it matter? If you understood what UB Blake did for music, you would go, oh my God, there should be a statue in every concert hall on the planet because for UB Blake, because his style and, what? Honky tonk piano, the kind of stuff you hear in the old westerns, UB Blake. And but that it brought forward from his style of music, all the other forms have come behind it. Just saying. I mean, popular music, in my opinion. Enough about that. But here's the point about that. There are all these people who have theories as to how music evolved. UB Blake doesn't come up in it. And I'm like, what? I'm sorry, but you leave this guy out who wrote hundreds of songs, played until like 6 months before he died at 98. I mean, the guy was phenomenal, and you're going to leave him out? Well, he didn't really have that much to do with modern music. Go back and listen to some of that honky tonk and tell me that some of that ain't in this mixed in with what's going on or has gone on in the 60, 50, 60, 70s. I mean, it transcended. Too much about UB. Sorry about that. Even in music theory, and I'm going back to the word theory, they leave some of these facts out. So there's somebody talking about, well, the age of the planet and this, that, and the other thing, and volcanoes and all this stuff. But if you say, well, so what's your theory about Pangea? What do you mean? Pangea. One island, Turtle Island. What are you talking about? Well, Turtle Island. With the, creation from shamans of all around the world talk about that planet Earth was mostly water, and that when mankind was brought here, there was a turtle that came. Raven brought sticks and found, I don't now get this, I don't know where he found the sticks and stuff, but built Mother Earth on top of the turtle until Mother Earth became solid. And many people still believe, and I don't know, just kind of, but that the turtles are still under us and that they're restless and moving. Well, Pangea was one giant continent. And you can take, the United States and Africa and South America. And I did this as a kid. I cut them out from a map. And I was like, they almost fit together. That was before anybody told me they did. And then they went, well, that's the Pangea theory. Well, now, if you bring that up to a geologist, they go, well, that's just a theory. Well, wait, you can take a map and cut it up and the things almost fit. But ancient shaman traditions, which they call pagan, by the way, is that we were one giant body. And as the planet has been expanding, as I've talked about, there are a few folks out there with the expanding Earth theory, not many, but science had to come up with the theory about, well, earthquakes are this, and there's subduction zones and all. No, if you just stop and think, planet Earth is expanding, the cracks is where she's expanding, and that fills in the cracks, and there's motion. One ain't going down underneath another one. This idea that there's a solid core, now there's a molten core. Molten iron doesn't really have magnetism because guess what? They say, well, they have found rocks that are magnetic, but they weren't magnetic at the time. They had to cool down. So there is these magnetic lines of lava. They weren't magnetic until they cooled. So, but they're going to explain to you that the lava has magnetism and that the earth and that, you know what I mean? So, but it's all based on theory. Every time they turn around, they come up with something. Well, for a long time, we thought that was fact. And now we find out that when I was growing up, atoms went around, protons and photons, and it was this nice, neat little thing. No, now everything's vibrating, and now everything has changed. Well, back before I really cared how an atom went around, I already understood about the natural frequencies of the universe. Because anybody who goes and sits out in nature and just pays a little bit of attention is going to understand that natural. They're going to understand there's something about nature that is frequency wise. So, people get bored, they blah, blah, blah. What do? They leave the city. Where do they go? Out to nature. Why? It's because it's been going on as long as civilization. Me, I live in the wilderness, kind of, sort of. I mean, my electric bill this month was $26.28. Okay. And I have everything I need. $26.28 because I choose to live differently. Do I have lights when I need them? Yeah, but they're not on all the time. Do I have fans? Yes, but I live in a passive solar home that I planned on 40 years ago. Now I'm living in it. I planned ahead. Now, in my old age, the house stays when it was 101 outside, it was only 86 in here. And you can, well, that was kind of uncomfortable. Yes, it was, but it was 101 outside. I'd much rather stay in here 86 degrees with the fan running. And so, and right now I got the windows open and the house is cooling down for tomorrow. So it's like, okay, a little bit of effort on my part. Close the windows before when the sun comes up or before it gets too late in the mornings, and open them at night when the sun goes down so the cooler air can pass through the house. Oh, that's really hard to do. That's what I do. So it's like, but in science, well, you have to have all this and you got to do that. And you got to have the theory of this and that. Well, there is a theory of airflow. There is, I need to bring the air in, temperature difference. Yes. Okay. There's some science in there, but it's warm in here and cooler outside. Should I open a window? Yes or no? Do I need a thermometer? No. I put my hand outside and go, cooler, window opening time. Oh, it's so hard to do. I know I'm being really snarky, but there are some people who will race back and forth to a thermostat to adjust it, but wouldn't go open or close a window. Well, that's too much trouble. Snarky. Yes, I know. Sorry about that, but it's true. I do have a person in mind. They're like, I couldn't do that. That's too hard. I saw you when I come last time I visited you, go to the air conditioner and back 4 times. You went over 4 times and back 4. That's 8 trips across the room. I only do it once or twice. I do it once in the morning, close the window, once in the evening, open the window. That's only 2 trips, and I'm usually going out to feed the chickens or checking outside anyway. So it's like I didn't make a special trip to a device that costs you $250 a month to run. My bill was $26.28. I try to think, quote, sensibly. But other people will, but your theory's wrong, Dave. Well, you got to do and you got to have, and no, I'm sorry, but I'll show you my electric bill. And I'll show you how I live just fine. And this is how you can do it. Do you want to pay attention? Well, no, that's just theory. No, what I want to present is fact. That's the reason I brought up this thing about the electricity. I have facts. My electric bill was $26.28. Your facts are based on what? Theory. Here are my facts. This is my bill. Where's yours? Well, my bill was only $225 this last. What? Well, yeah, it was only 225. It was 275 last month. What? And you want to talk to me about what I know about earth science? And wait a minute, my bill's 26 bucks. Yours is 260 something average. And you want to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about passive energy and about how you can. Same thing about shamanism. Have you went out and studied the stars lately? Well, no. I looked out the window the other night and well, do you understand the universe? Well, no, but I watched a YouTube video. There are people who are geologists. And one of the things that they have proven themselves in their own theory of science. I'm being a snarky, you know what, right now. But they're trying to convince every single one of us this is the truth. It's the only truth. Don't believe anything else. Nothing else can exist. But as they tell you what the lie is, there are holes in what they say as they speak it. This is the science based on theory. And everybody goes, well, theory, ooh, that's good. No, look at the word. It's conjecture. It's an idea. It's a possibility or a probability. They will say, well, because I worked it out mathematically. Now, Joe, do you understand this shit? No. Do you understand what all them squiggles are? No. I've asked other mathematicians. They go, that's interesting. Can't decipher it. So they write these equations out, and then they tell you and me, this is the answer. What? This is the answer with the thingy and the whatever and the equals and all the and it's a mile long. That's the answer, right? But you base that upon, well, mathematical theory. Oh, here we go back. And so every time when they try to explain science fact, their facts, if you go back one more, is based upon a theory. So, but they want us to believe that now, because now there is a computer. When I was 10, 12 years old, everybody had a party line. People don't even know what the hell a party line is right now. But, hey, I need to use the phone. Hey, Miss Ellen, would you get off for a few minutes? I'll ring you back. You could do this you could dial your own number and hang up, and then it would ring back at the house. That don't work anymore. But back in the day, it did because of party lines. There were 2, there were 4, and there were 8 people on a party line. And whole neighborhoods knew what was going on. All you had to do was just pick up the phone and listen in. Talk about eavesdropping, listening in on somebody's conversation. But nowadays, it's like, well, no, wait a minute. No, in my reality as a child, there was no matrix. There was just natural universe. So until they created the computer, the digital, quote, artificial AI didn't exist until they tried to convince you and me that it did exist. I was one of the people, because I was using BASIC and creating my own programs. I was part of the early on part of AI, because the little tiny programs I wrote for AutoCAD were for simple they were shortcut routes to like start a circle or something anyway. And I can't remember there's a script in there, but so I learned how to write that script and made these little shortcuts. So it was when I was drawing, rather than going over here and doing this, I could just hit 2 buttons and right click my mouse. And I'd already made a circle, where somebody else is trying to figure out how, I already had one. So, Lisp, LISP, it's a language for AutoCAD. That's what they called it. Lisp. And yes, I talk with a lisp now, sort of. No teeth. But anyway, the idea though that so I because I participated with AI, because I participated in, in intranet and internet, internal intranet within huge companies, and the internet itself, which are two separate things, by the way. A lot of people don't know that. But the company I worked for, it had its own intranet, and it connected to other plants through the internet. But each factory had their own intranet, but we could talk to each other through that using a Windows NT back in the day. And everybody else was using Windows and DOS and blah blah blah. But corporations still talked in their own language, and they had their own code. They had their own platforms. That was for companies. And Windows NT became Windows 2000, by the way, which I thought was a good deal. Windows 2000 is still a damn good software, but I digress. But the idea that they're trying to convince you that that we're all part of this artificial matrix, they have somehow believed that they've left the spirit out of their explanation. In other words, they don't want to go get religious on it. They don't want to get metaphysical. They'll talk all these theories and write out all these equations, but if you say, well, can you figure out why you feel better after sitting underneath a tree, and why you feel energetic, and you know scientists meditate and they say, wow, I feel good after meditation. There were some factories that I was aware of, and the Orientals, and I don't mean just Japan or China, but there are many Oriental companies, big ones, and they practice meditation. They practice biorhythm. If you drive or operate a vehicle, they do biorhythm charts on everybody. And if your biorhythm charts are down, they just schedule you so you don't drive the bus. You are the backup driver in case something happens or whatever. But you don't drive while your energies are low in your in your natural cycle. And I've known about this since the late 60s. And people still don't biorhythm. What the hell is that? Well, I know around certain times of the month, Hawkeye gets his period. And what I mean by that is my energy level drops, and I'm like, no, I'm grumpy guy. I get my period. But when I did my my charts, I realized, oh crap. And it's sort of on a 28-day cycle with the moon, like a lot of women are. But the thing is there's a 28-day and a 30 and a 31 or 2-day cycle. I can't remember off the top of my head. There are more than 3, but they had established long time back, a long time, GI, that biorhythms were important. And when they followed the biorhythms, and I did charts back on some of the children and adults when I worked at a special school for handicapped, both mentally and physically. And I did biorhythm charts on many of the more violent ones, I got to say, testy ones. And when their charts dipped, man, we knew how to handle them from a distance. And when they'd start to go off the chain, and I mean, this one guy was just a little bit bigger than I am, and he threw a 250-pound black man, 6'3", just picked him up and chunked him like a piece of cordwood. I was like, he beat the shit out of me. So we started paying attention to the biorhythm charts and going, when's Wade's next day? And we started plotting them on the calendar. So as we flip up, we'll go, well, these people are going to have similar days. And it was odd because there were several people who we always had problems with, and it always come out to somehow it was around the same day of every month because we had to chart our clients. And when you look back over, you had to be stupid to not see a pattern. You know what I mean? Even the lowliest of folks go, well, damn, the last 2 months on the 26th around, he had a similar incident. Well, guess what? Maybe on the 26th of every month, we need to pad the room. We need to come in with our shoulder pads on and wear a helmet because Wade's going to kick the shit out of somebody. Or what we learned was that we learned what was triggering him, and we just simply guided him with words and stuff. And, if it looked like he was going to get violent, instead of trying to stop him, we moved the person he was going to be violent with. So it's like, what are you doing? Oh, hey, Max Vision. Oh, Marie. Hi, how are you? And Pamela, I still see you in here. So, but this idea, and so I started with geology, talked about Pangea, and then kind of sort of left the subject. But I want to go back to that. And I've got a friend of mine who studied geology at the University of Georgia in Athens, and he worked with oil companies and helping to find stuff. So a wonderful friend of mine for many years, very talented. Machinist and mechanic and engineer, worked at the Mag Lab in Tallahassee for many years, told me some inside stories about some of the stuff they worked on. Not that it was like top secret, just that they were screwing around with really big magnets just to see what the hell would happen. Literally, like, isn't that a little scary? Well, no, let's see. Let's take this peach over here and put it on inside this giant magnet and see if something happens. We don't know, Well, let's inject a little lead in it, or I don't know. Anyway, I mean, they were some of the stuff I said they were doing what? Just to see what happened. Because if somebody said, well, how does an orange act in a high magnetic field? We don't know. Okay, so toss one in. Like, well, was it a ripe one or was it a green one? Well, I don't know. It was just an orange. Well, doesn't that matter? I mean, there's more sugar and stuff and when they're ripe versus the green ones that are harder and more dense. Well, what do you mean? What you bringing that up? I was, me and him could banter back and forth all the time. But as a geologist, he was like, well, this is formed this way and that's like that. And this is like this. And that's how the earth is formed. And I was like, okay, so where's the science? And trust me, I've got books upstairs because I am surrounded by gemstones. I mean, I can, I reach over here and this is a piece, for example, of natural black tourmaline that I mined myself out in North Georgia, near Athens, Georgia, actually, Royston, up near where the stones are, the Georgia Guidestones. This was mined near there. I've got this all around me. There's a big chunk down here. But anyway, so people will say, well, you don't know nothing about minerals or nothing like that. After getting hit in the head, I've forgotten a lot of it, but I still have all my books upstairs. I've got science books on geology and gemstones, and I've been studying lapidary and jewelry making a long time ago because being in the carnival, making jewelry and stuff, well, that just was kind of sort of in there anyway. And just a pastime of mine, I've panned for gold. I have my own little things of gold that I found in in North Georgia and in the Carolinas. I've got pieces of ruby that I've mined. I've been in a ruby mine up in North Carolina. I've had sapphire. I've got the dark maroon garnet. Anyway, but let's just leave it at that. And in that, I understand more than some folks who just go, "Whoa, there's a mountain." Now I understand more than that. So, but the way they try to explain things, and it's like, well, this is how it happened. And okay, so tell me how you think it happened. Well, this curled like this, and this pushed this up, and that did that, and yada, 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 blah. Okay. And well, because we think this is how it went. Wait, whoa. You just told me that's how it goes. The curls in the rocks and the geology and the pressure and this and that. That's what you said. You just told me that. Yeah. But you said that's what you think happened. Yeah, well, because there's the line and there's the thing. So your scientific fact is based on conjecture, meaning it's a theory. You don't really know. Well, but we've studied this and it's similar over here. And somebody made the statement that, well, this and they threw Gobekli Tepe and something else into the equation. I was like, oh, that is so much older than all these other things. And there already some folks are grouping, well, it's as old as Gobekli Tepe. I know it ain't. I'm sorry, gang, but there are places that, you know, well, civilizations disappeared. After a hurricane around here and, the tornadoes up that just happened up in Dayton, I have relatives up there. Thank goodness everybody's safe. But to the point, I've lived in Tampa and there was a tornado that went through back there in the early 60s that literally wiped a half a mile wide halfway through the state of Florida. Thank God it was through a lot of open fields and stuff, but it ripped a hole through, tore down the Skyway Drive-In, and I was staying 4 houses down from where this son of a gun went by. When we heard it, when we woke up to get ready for school, when we went outside, we saw this thing go by, and what was left was nothing but debris. Now, if one tornado can literally rip to shreds our humanity, that was including blocks, brick, 2-story apartment houses in the neighborhood, gone, just rubble. So after 10,000 years, if they built like us now, back then, are we going to find any traces? Oh, hell no. And if we did, would we know what the heck we were looking at? So the idea, all of this is based on theory. And I've talked about this with Native Americans who I have, been, this reincarnation is my job to understand the shaman walk, the medicine walk, the red road, and to try to help other folks, regardless of your religion or belief. We are all spiritual beings. So, but in that, Native Americans is like, well, we don't know how long they were there. Why? Because they lived in teepees. Well, because white man thought they were savages. White man wasted all its time building castles and cities. Now, some of these things are really cool and groovy, but that's not the point. From a Native American's point of view, when a person leaves, there should be no trace left behind. Any wilderness camper knows, leave no trace. Well, anybody that goes out, we as human beings should leave no trace, but that ain't happening. But the idea, though, that the geology is based, when you go back, on a theory. They haven't proved why volcanoes go off and don't go off. They're still studying. So everything is based on these theories. So in the matrix that they're trying, there are people I never thought would start to try to convince us that we're a hologram. You want to be a hologram? You go right ahead. I say, nope. Bob, I love you in there. And I know your cousin was messing with the internet today and it wasn't your fault. But to the point, here, let's have some coffee on Bob's behalf. You too, Pamela. And Max and Marie. And if anybody else who might be lurking out there. But before you go rushing down this path, that these guys have all of a sudden got an answer. Shamans have been talking about this for 20, 30,000 years. This goes so far back, and science is just now wanting to bring it up again. And now that they've got a computer, they're like, whoa, now we're all part of the matrix, because they created it. They created the 3D. They look at things as dots and zeros, but not anymore. Now there's the quantum So the quantum broke their theories because it went into other dimensions and realms. Oh, wait a minute. Guess what they broke into? Spider Woman's quantum. And she's really not too happy about it, quite frankly. But their matrix exists in the galactic spiderweb universe. But the galactic spiderweb universe does not fit into the matrix that these idiots are trying to convince the rest of us that we're in. Oh, you're a hologram. Oh, hell no, I ain't. I bleed. I'm sorry, but oh well, but in this reality, I have to agree that in the grand scheme of things, I believe that my soul this time is a reincarnation into this 3D body. So am I a hologram in a way? Am I part of a matrix? The answer to both of those is sort of, yeah, kind of, sort of, but not in a computerized way. It is the source of all energy. And there are folks talking about, well, the 5G this and the 5G that. Wow, Jupiter's in an odd place last night or tonight. Anyway, a person was talking about, they want us to get quicker downloads with the 5G. They want us to download information quicker. And the thing is that you have to stop right there. What is the information they wish for you to download? You got to answer apps, you got commercials, you got bullshit, you got this and that. So that's what they're scanning you for. Unplug your phone. I got a landline with an answer machine somewhere else, but an answer machine. So, and you can contact me through email when Google will let me open my own email. It was having issues today and was burping all over the place. But to the point, though, Bob, and I know it wasn't your fault. It was your cousin's. Wow, there's some weird lights outside tonight. Wow, strange beings in the yard. Anyway, concrete is a matrix. People who make orgone and do there are different people who use different types of things to use as a matrix for their orgone. But to the point, that's a matrix. So there is a natural matrix that, yes, it's here, but you got to understand it's not just on this planet, it's in the entire universe. The people who discuss the AI, now there is an artificial intelligence that is connected out yonder to us, and there are some higher beings who are trying to screw with us. But they're using you and I as the guinea pigs. We are the ones who are programming the AI by our responses. Do we answer this? Can you shut your phone off? I know I keep going on with this, but if you can't turn your phone off for just a short period of time, you're a part of their matrix. You have sold out. A part of you has already gone in there. Now, there are times when I'm, not when I'm doing a video, but, before I used to spend hours perusing and looking. And now I go out and I'm checking things and there's something that says, get out of here, go away. You've got outside business to do. There are trees and flowers and, there are other things than this matrix. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Get kicked in the shins. I went out on the lake last night and just had a beautiful experience, going to be for a separate video. But I met some individuals, for example, had I not gone, we wouldn't have had this wonderful conversation. I took pictures of orbs right in front of these two young gentlemen, and the one guy was just freaking out. He goes, "You mean they're right over there?" And I was like, "Shine your lights over there. Do you see anything?" "No." "Okay, turn them off. Let me flash. Flip." "Okay." "Holy crap, the whole beach is full of orbs." Yeah, surprise. There are other dimensions. So that was fun, and I've got pictures I'm going to share in another video. I got to work it out. I took like 300 pictures last night. Um, 5 hours on the river last night. It was gorgeous, and the water was coming up. I almost got stuck on the river back there because the water was coming in and filled in a hole that I had to get out of on the way out. Me and the truck went swimming. But anyway, um, but the idea of time, reality, the matrix, you know, the awareness of the rest of the universe, if when people start collecting their energy and, well, I don't know, I'm part of this matrix. Well, okay, I'm a hologram. No, I'm sorry, but you are a part of the universal hologram if you really want to explain it that way. But I'm flesh and blood. I bleed, I die, my spirit leaves and goes somewhere. Now, does that mean I'm an avatar? They're going to have to bury this carcass or do something with it, feed it to the dogs. I don't know. I'm I I've told people, listen, just if I get too loony, just take me out in the woods and let a bear eat me, recycle me. I know that's kind of bad, weird, and out of there, but anyway, the idea is like if you're going to do something with me, well, okay, at least there is some bright something out there tonight. Anyway, so the theory of everything. One of the things, and I keep warning people, listen, they're trying to explain things without using any metaphysical. In other words, there's nothing spiritual about this. It's only cold, hard facts. It's the formula I can write on a piece of paper. Okay. What about the rest of the universe? Oh, it's right here on this. This is it. Now, I don't understand this. I know that there are magic sigils. There are complex equations. I'm not disputing that. But my point is they're looking at it from only a 3D reality. So they're basing their science and they're leaving out the spiritual / metaphysical. And I'm not talking about God or angels. Well, angels in a way, but because they're spiritual beings or other dimensional. Now, there are some scientists, physicists, who will talk about the other dimensional thing, but they try to describe it in a scalar fashion, which, guess what, turns out to be back in the day of analog, the sine wave is like this. In the digital, it goes up, over, back. It's a square wave. Different. So now science is trying to explain the universe in a digital wave format like this. That's choppy and the dimensions exist here and time is on this line and this is here, but it's all relative to the person. To the person, it's all relative to the person who's observing it. You know what I mean? So if I'm in Jersey, I'm from Jersey, you from Jersey? If I'm from Jersey and I observe the time, it looks like this to me. If you're down here in South Georgia, hey, y'all, this is how we look at time down here. Same time, different watches, two different areas. Reality is the same time, is it? Two individuals, it's being observed, blah, blah, blah. The whole observation thing affects time. Observation affects the outcome of experiments. That's why they took the average of the speed of light. So why would we want to listen to, I'm sorry, a bunch of clowns who base their facts on theory? Well, my theory of the spider web universe, there's more basic legends, myths, shamanistic ideas go a lot further back than their harebrained idea that I'm a hologram in this reality. Wait a minute. Who's right? These new brain guys or I don't know. Shamans have been around for hundreds of thousands of years. We have any being trying to be a higher spiritual being is a shaman. We're all shamans in training. That's why we come back to this planet. We're here to learn how to be shamans, to learn how to be more better, and to have a good time. Let's go outside and kayak and under the moonlight. Hey, but and but is there meaning in that? Well, I did it again last night, went kayaking, and I received some really interesting messages, had a synchronicity with some people that I didn't think I was going to meet anybody in the middle of the night on the river. And it turned out to be a wonderful exchange and so forth. And wow. So you say, well, but Spirit told me I need to go to the river because it was cool, and it was. And the water was up, and it was still rising when I left this morning at sunup, which is a good thing, etc. So I listened to my spirit guide, and I was rewarded with a really pleasant, all-nighter last night on the river. And I went several miles down anyway. I got some pictures I want to share with you in another video. But the idea, though, that if I just said, well, I don't know, I'll just sit here and do a video and I don't really want to go. Well, all the stuff's in the truck. Yeah. All you got to do is put on your shoes. Yeah. Well, and just, there's an extra shirt over there. Yeah. Well, aren't you almost out of cigarettes? What? You're out of milk? What? You want coffee in the morning? Yeah. So I'll go to the store, take a side trip to the river. Excuse. But in my reality, see, my time was my time. I could choose. I could stop. I could go. I could have stayed here. I chose to go. I was going to get in the kayak and didn't. And if I had left when I did, I would have met these two guys. I mean, there's all this kind of synchronicity of things. But I listened to my higher self, and they were like, I don't ever take a folding chair when I go to the river to go kayaking. I was sitting in a folding chair when these guys drove up. And I'm like, I don't ever take it's a little camping chair, but I never do that. I get out of the truck, I put the kayak in, I'm gone. No, I decided to sit on the beach for a little while. And so, but I was listening to my higher spirit. Sometimes, like I've told in other stories, I don't know what the outcome is, but the outcome worked out great. So in my timeline and how it worked out, I had a lot of choices, but I chose to listen to the quantum, to the source, and go, just hang out here just a little while longer, Hawkeye. Got something for you. Two delightful young gentlemen, I had a blast for about an hour out there on the beach. It was great. And I was showing them, I was taking pictures of orbs right in front of them. And they were just freaking out, man. I mean, what? There's a bunch of them. Oh my God, turn the lights on again. No, there's nothing there. Right. So that was a fairy. Yep. You're right. It was, but anyway, so when you could expose somebody who kind of sort of believes, now I'm holding the camera and they're actually seeing it with their own eyes. That's the kind of thing. And it's like, that's fact. That's the truth. No amount of science. Well, those orbs are generated by some kind of what? Well, I don't know. Let me make an equation. Well, in the spider web universe, they're part of the universe. They already exist. Now, why should you try to explain how and why they exist when you don't even know how you exist? But you're going to try to explain everything else that you know about the universe on your limited scientific, based on theory, facts in a 3D realm without even trying to consider the rest of the universe. What? I'm sorry, but you're thinking in linear times. Well, they're in this conversation I was listening to today, they were like, well, yeah, time is this, and it's like this. No, it's not. Time's linear only to us here on this planet. But if I leave here and fly to Europe, I'm going to have jet lag. If I fly to California, I'm going to have jet lag. Why? Because you took me out of my time zone. You took me out of my time period. Just there's I've traveled across the country. I used to go into Central Time Zone all the time and do puppet shows, and it was really strange because I had to turn around and come back the next day and go back to my time. So I've been studying this. What is this thing about time? So you cross the time zone, then you come back across. And in North Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, up there, you literally, when you go in towards Nashville on 24, I think it is, you dip down into Alabama and and then you back up again. Anyway, so wait a minute, but it's the same time. The sun hadn't moved, but 10 miles down the road is another time zone. And then 10 miles further down the road, it goes back again. Okay. It's arbitrary. Now it's based on the fact that, okay, got to go with the globe here on this one, but it's just divided up because we go around. If we only went around 22 hours, well, guess what? Then there'd only be 22 hours. And the distance between the time zones would actually expand. Because right now, unless the Earth shrinks, if there were only 22 hours, it would mean it's spinning faster. So that would mean that what an hour is in that particular distance it is now, 22 hours is 24 now. So if it was 26 hours, the time zones would squeeze. You follow me? So it's all relative. But they're trying to make us believe that everything is this. It's on this thing. The waves look like this. Where's your proof? It's a theory. But everybody's going along with this. Oh, he made a graph. He did an X and a Y and a Z. Oh, my God. But what about Z and this and that? And what about A, B, C and hyphen one up here or exponent, exponent, excuse me. I was thinking exponential factor. Where's that? How do you bring the metaphysical into this? Where do you bring ancient knowledge forward and apply it to your theories? Can't do that. Oh my God, can't go there. Now, so these people are talking about, well, the reason that we're going through this and how things are going is because that's how no, you're allowing this. They ain't programming me for a squat. When I figured it out, I was like, bye guys, I'm going outside. Oh, but because I'm outside, because of the 5G towers and that they're going to convince everybody. Now, I got to admit, I don't know what's up with the 5G and some of this. That's for another. Let me just, since I brought it up for a second here. One of the things I noticed about the 5G towers, they're not as tall as cell towers. Cell tower, there's several around here. I can go out and go up the hill and see one or two, depending on my point of view, up on my hill. And there's one 2 miles straight up the river from me. My adopted grandchildren lived in a house right beside the damn thing, which was interesting. But it's twice, maybe even 3 times as tall as these 5G towers that I've been finding out in the swamps and out in the countryside. And these things don't have lights on them. So did they make the 5G towers lower so that airplanes, you really got to be flying just above the treetops that run into one of these things versus a cell phone tower. Now, that puts all those carrier waves really close to the ground versus 100 foot up or 50 foot up. These things are just above the trees. That bothers me, but I'm going to continue. I know how to take one down, but anyway, not a warning, not a threat, just I know how. And a lot of other people do too, but anyway, the idea of the mind control thing, though, could they fry our brains with a certain frequency? Listen, my friends, if you don't think they're already doing it, Folks that carry around their cell phones in their pocket, and the little. If you put a device on your ear that's Wi-Fi'd, you're dead. People who use anything Bluetooth on your head, stop it. Oh, I got Bluetooth headphones. Uh, take the battery out. You've got a transmitter attached to your head. Read up on radio waves and the fact that you should keep them a distance from your head. Oh no, I'm going to put a Bluetooth on, wear it all day long, and talk to my friends like this. Hey Joe, how you doing? You get the pink contract for me? All right, now thank you. Incoming call. Click. All right. You have a transmitter on your head. Might as well have it implanted. It would do you less harm, probably. But the idea, though, that somehow these ideas, though, that they want us to download information quicker. When my spirit guide wants me to have information, he grabs my ass and stops me. I'm always learning how to use my third eye. And so when I'm in the woods, what I'll do, I was on the river paddling back, and I'll turn my headlamp on because I hate having headlamp. It tries to attract bugs and stuff. I just don't like it. I would much rather paddle in the moonlight or starlight, which is what it was this morning. So I turn to my headlamp and I look at the river. I look at both sides of the river, see the patterns of the trees. This only takes me a couple of seconds. And I can see in the distance any logs. Nope. And I look up, I pick a tree on the skyline and turn my light off. And so I know to stay within the shadows. I watch where the stars are. So I stay in the river that way. And I also know what my bearing is because I picked a tree in the distance that I'm paddling towards. And I can see it in the starlight on the skyline. So it's like, this isn't really hard, but I'm paddling along, and I started getting this feeling, turn on your light. And I was like, I just did, didn't I? No, turn on your light. And all of a sudden it was like, I stopped paddling and I looked with my own eyes, and I seen this great big dark shadow in the way of my distant view. And I flipped my headlamp on, and there was a tree hanging into the water. Now I would have just ran into the bushes, but it still would have not what you want to do in the middle of the night kind of thing. And you get your paddle hung up, and spiders all over you. And anyway, and I was like, but I saw it with my third eye without my headlamp on. I saw it in the dark. And I was like, crap. But Spirit was the one that said, stop, idiot. Turn on your lamp. You're going to run into something. And that's what, like, whoa. And so this idea that, well, if we want to connect to the information, my friends, my spiritual brothers and sisters, anybody who's had a little bit of information knows, you ain't got to have no 5G. The connection to the creator is instant. I've had communications with other people. Some of you know who you are. God bless y'all. And in that, the message is almost instantaneous. It's faster than Google was today. I mean, me and my friend were having thoughts that were quicker than Google was allowing us to, And so it's like, so, wait a minute. I have to rely on the artificial AI that all these people are now believing controls me and you. Maybe you, not me. But that the rest of the universe doesn't exist. And I say, we can me and my granny communicated all the time. I've talked about grandma. We didn't need no stinking Wi-Fi. It was instantaneous. Picked up the phone. She's calling me. I'm calling her. Too many times I've talked about it before. Instantaneous. What we need to be doing as human beings is throw these goddamn devices, those gosh darn devices out. Go back to our own natural. I wish I could take that back. I can't. Anyway. These damn devices that we think we have to have. in order to communicate. And it's such a lie. And it's like, well, we're going to tap into this or the 5G. And if we all just stopped all this other BS and started learning how the natural order of the spider web universe works, we can. I know there are beings that have contacted me with information that has been like rock solid, and it's always been thumbs up. And that the stuff I get on the internet, I don't know to trust or not. These people talk about science, and then it all comes back to theory. It's all, well, we think, well, are you sure? Where's your proof? Well, we studied this for a long time. So I've studied the space for a long time. Do you believe in aliens? Do you believe in alien spacecraft? Well, no, I don't. Well, I've seen one over my head appear out of nowhere, shoot a laser beam, disappear, and this one blew up and it disappeared. Now, you trying to tell me I didn't physically see that? Well, that's not possible. Well, I watched the orange one all the way across the sky until it got overhead. Then the white one appeared and blew it out of the sky, and they both disappeared. It was interdimensional. Are you trying to tell me that that didn't exist? Well, that's just your imagination. You must have been high on something. No, I saw it. So wait a minute. It popped out of nowhere, shot a laser beam, and then disappeared. But your imagination. Okay, I didn't have a witness. I'm sorry. In my reality, that was fact to me. So other people who say, well, I don't know if the other dimension exists, and I don't know about other beings in other dimensions. I've witnessed it. Other people have witnessed it too. Dante, I'll throw his name in there because that's another person that, that is making people aware of this. Now, I don't have those kind of contacts. But the thing is that I just watched the universe. I was watching the universe early this morning, and there was a beautiful streaker early this morning, right after I got this download. And I was almost like, did you just skip a rock across the pond to give me a thumbs up because of that, what just happened? Well, but to the point though, it's like, that was talk about synchronicity. And it was a comet. It wasn't something else. Now, well, they could have blown up a ship and why anyway. No, it didn't have any colors to it. It was just a white streak, but it was cool. Anyway, so scientists are basing all of their stuff on conjecture, and I'm going to say false science. Some of it is like, well, can you make ammonium chloride or blah, blah, blah? Yeah, okay. There are chemical things and elements that, yes, you can create or uncreate, as the case may be. People have found that if you heat gold really, really just extremely hot, you can actually turn it into a powder. Monatomic gold, anyone? Well, we didn't think that was possible. We didn't think building CERN, however far down it is and however big around it is, we didn't think we was going to build that neither, did we? Well, we didn't think we were going to do this, and we didn't think we were going to do that. Here's the point. From a shaman's point of view, if you and I are here to experience this life, to understand, to expand our own spiritual cosmic attachment with the universe, and to learn, see, touch, feel, experience, eat bananas and chocolate. What a deal, right? Then why do I have to follow along that, wait a minute, I have to give up my belief that is like in here, and it's kind of sort of goes back and it does relate to many of the things Edgar Cayce talked about. And I've been studying Edgar Cayce for a long time. In fact, reading, and back in the day before ARE was really popular and all that in Virginia Beach, there were old timers down here in the South who were, staunch Southern Baptists, but knew about Edgar Cayce. They knew about the sleeping prophet. They became aware that they were healed because a friend of theirs wrote to him, and they followed his recipes, and that they were cured of their ailment when all the other doctors couldn't. So the old timers that I listened to when I first moved up here to Georgia, most of them are dead now, but they talked about Edgar Casey as like a saint. And I mean, reverence. They didn't worship him, but they were like, whatever he did, God touched this man, and that's what they believed. And because of word of mouth, and there was no internet back in them days, people wrote letters, and they was like, I got this recipe. Edgar sent me something, something, and they passed it between themselves. So people started using peanut oil for their joints and lanolin. They started taking better care of kidneys and this and that and certain herbs and not doing certain things. And so and the teachings of Edgar Casey all, if you have listened, read, watched, or whatever, that we as soul beings are given the opportunity to take on this reincarnation as an angel. So I understood a long time ago, because I believed in angels and my Mother Mary visits, that Edgar made sense, because that's what I felt like. And Mother Mary told me, you came here for a reason, and we'll let you know when it's time. And all of these things have come to pass in my life. So it's like, so was Edgar right? I think he's more right than not. Now I can't go on about the Atlantis or that, but the reincarnation and us being here, and the idea, because how did he heal people? He healed people in the astral. He would go into his quote sleep, and then he would see the people. He said, I would see this individual. What do people do now? Psychic healers. Well, I see there's something wrong in your. Now they've got computer programs that can scan our auras and tell what's wrong with us. Isn't that what Edgar was doing? Damn near 100 years ago, 80 years ago, the sleeping prophet. My point to this is where did he get that information? From the quantum. He got the information straight from the source. We all have that potential. I'm healthier now at 67 than I was at 64. What's different? I ain't taking their medicine anymore. I'm trying to be healthier myself. I go out in the middle of the night and paddle for 4.5 miles one way, and exercise. Why spend money on a gym? I go outside and I'm with nature. We all got our thing. But I mean, to my point though, I realized that out on the energy, so I'm out there accepting the energy of the universe, as I ask all of you to do, and I feel better for it. I'm more charged up. I'm so glad I went to the river last night, kind of thing, And but the idea though that, well, wait a minute, I don't know if it'll do me any good. Well, there was a guy who was out there, and he went out fishing. I was the two gentlemen I was talking to. He was like, they said, oh, how did they put it? He's had a hard day, and the wife's nagging him. And so he gets in his boat at 10 o'clock at night and goes out on the river for a while, because he's just had enough of everything else. And he didn't really fish. We went down the river in a motorboat and went down a ways, and he came back really quick. I mean, I could almost paddle that as fast as he did. Don't know where he went, but to the point though, he's like, he just had to get out, and the only way he could do it was, and he had a bunch of crap in his boat, but hey, okay. Of course, he had a trailer for it, um, but the idea is that, well, he got in his boat and he ran off because he couldn't stand the regular world. And the only way he knew how to release it was to go outside. And his excuse was to go fishing. More people need to go fishing, whether they take a pole or not. They need to be fishing for the information from the universe that's always available. So these folks who are trying to sell us on, well, if we get this and we're a part of the matrix of this thing right here doesn't understand what shamans have been teaching for thousands of years. The AI doesn't get it. Why? Because AI doesn't have essence. Think about it. AI has no essence. It has thought patterns. It's got heartbeat rhythms. It's got eye flutter thingies. It's got pulse and blood pressure. It's got eye thingy, the dolitomy thing and the facial stuff. Okay, fine. But it doesn't have a soul. It doesn't have essence. You want to be a part of that process? Well, I guess we are, but then you just signed the contract. No, I am not a part of this AI. I choose to be a part of it. And if you allow yourself to be convinced by people, well, it must be like a hologram. No, it's like a hologram, but it ain't. It's this universal spider concept. Yes, my soul entered this body. Is that a hologram? Does that make it an avatar? I go back to that topic. But if they're trying to take what has been going on for millions of years all across many galaxies, universes, and dimensions forever, and they're trying to say, but now we're part of a matrix. They're creating a box for you to climb in. They are creating the false, whatever it is. Well, but and we're a part of this, and because of the square thingy, and this is here and that's there. As soon as you leave this planet, all bets are off. That's what they don't get. They talk about it. Well, time and space is different than here on Earth. Then how can you say that the rest of the universe works like this? You're looking at it from a very small point of view, meaning Earth. Did you go to Jupiter and walk in the denser gravity? Does Jupiter really have a denser gravity? Or is your theory is, well, because it's so goddamn big, it's got to have certain kind, if I weigh 100 pounds here on Earth, I'm going to weigh 1,000 pounds on Jupiter. Are you sure? Well, theoretically speaking, that's what they say. Listen to them. I was sitting there listening, I go, well, that's really interesting. And they go, and so the theory behind this is, wait a minute, you just told me fact. You just told me this was fact, and then you finish your sentence with an addendum that, and the common theory is. So it's not fact. It's just a bunch of eggheads who decided on a process. Well, there are a lot of shamans who raise their hand and go, silly fools, kicks are for trids. And it's an inside joke, but when I hear a silly joke, very old. On the island of Trid, out in the ocean somewhere upon this vastness of our planet, is the island of Trid. And of course, the people who lived on the island were called Trids. They were Tridians, if you will. And they had made this little ball, sort of out of coconut husk and leaves and things. And so they were visited by this missionary, Jewish man, a rabbi. And so, all the natives are out on the beach playing, kickball. And so, the rabbi goes up and he's like, hey, Chief, I want to play. Chief looks at him and says, sorry, Rabbi, kicks are for trids. Silly rabbit, tricks are for kids. Anyway, bad joke. But the idea that, though, that we understand what the universe is from our little speck of our existence is absurd. And the more I really try to listen to these folks. And I think, oh my God, you're selling a bill of goods because y'all are going back to, well, it's the AI and we're all avatars and we're all, yeah, but not in the computer sense. It's in a natural sense, and it's like the Matrix. It is like a hologram. It's not a hologram. Not in shaman's world. You want to give up your soul? Then you are a hologram. I'm sorry, but your hologram ain't going to just go poof. It's going to die, and somebody's going to have to bury, work on, burn, or whatever. They're going to have to do something with your remains. A hologram would just go. We don't do that. Well, but where we live in a hologram. Did when my grandmother died, she died. I went to her funeral. She didn't just go, wait a minute, was she a hologram? Well, but in this world, in this realm, they're trying to convince us we are. In the galactic terms, we are holograms in the essence of a human being. We have essence. A hologram would not have essence. A hologram, by its definition, is a projection. Sorry, gang, that hurts when I do this. I can beat on this screen all day long of the picture of me. Thump, 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 thump. Bob, sorry, did that hurt? Didn't hurt me. I got a red spot where I just beat on my hand physically. So am I a hologram? No. So, but you want to, so if you wish to decide to be a part of that, I'm praying for you. I am. You gotta think in terms of the universe. And these crazy fools out there, I know I'm so parody. The idea though that they've got it figured out or they've got the corner on the market, but they all come back to things that are based on theories. And I'm out in my boat on the water and I'm looking up at the stars in the universe and I go, that's not a theory. Spirit took me up early this morning and said, remember that last trip when you were out here? Yeah. Remember we took you up through the Milky Way? Yeah. Wasn't that cool? Yeah. Now we're going to take you, but we're going to take you in a different way. And I was like, okay, cool. Expand and I was laying back in my kayak looking up, and I mean, you really can see all around. And I realized that my spirit guide's telling me you're only focusing in one spot. And I was like, no, I always try to look at the sky through my peripheral vision. It's an exercise for watching comets and things. It's also good for, big long fish that come out of the darkness at you, but the idea of expanding your peripheral, it also expands your third eye and your senses and all of your awareness. It just goes out. So I'm looking up at the sky and they're going, loosen up. And I'm like, man, I'm relaxed, dude. I mean, no, you're not. Yeah, I am. Oh, no, you're not. And my spirit guide, when he shakes his finger, I'm like, what's up? I'm like, I don't know, but I realized it was almost like I had cupped my hands, but I was only looking at a portion of the sky. And the command was relax and see it all. And I was like, okay. And all of a sudden there was like this little flash, if you will, and I relaxed. And then all of a sudden I could see the whole sky, not just this much. Not this much, but everything. I mean, above, below, around. And the next thing I knew, I wasn't even in the kayak. And I could still see it all. I knew I was in the kayak, but I knew my essence. They had lifted it up. And they said, quite frankly, this is the universe, and the universe isn't made up of planets and stars. It's made up of beings on these planets and stars. And I was like, well, yeah. They were like, yeah, but when you look up there, what do you see? And I'm looking and seeing and feeling and experiencing it, man, it was really nice. And well, look at all the stars and planets. And they said, exactly. Hawkeye, you're seeing the stars and the planets. Yeah. Well, don't people live on them? Of course they do, was the answer. But the thing is that in my own mind of learning how to understand the universe more, it's not that there are just other planets out there or other universes or galaxies. There are trillions of species, not beings, trillions of species, different kind of folk. Do you get that? Well, that was sort of an afterthought, or it's stuck in the back. It was like a given. If there's a planet out there, it might have life. No, the answer is if there's a planet out there, there probably is life, not the other way around. We might not understand the life. We might not be able to see it with our 3D eyes. But when we look up in the universe, what do we see? Planets and stars. Do we see the beings on those planets and stars? And I was like, well, I took it for granted that was just it. I took it for granted that the beings were there. I didn't acknowledge any of them. Well, if there's a star, there might be somebody. Might. Well, there's a galaxy over there, M31. There might be might. It's all might. Might be, there might be people there. What about, yes, there are. So I understand all this, and I thought, isn't this kind of sort of a little bit of a moot point here, guys? And they were like, no. We, a few moments earlier in this exercise, if you will, my guardian says, you thought you were relaxed too, huh? Didn't you? And I was like, yeah, kind of. Did you not just flip a switch and reach another? Oh my God, you can see now the whole sky? Yeah. Well, guess what? We just flipped a switch in you, telling me that now you understand it's not just planets and stars. When you look up there, think of all the beings. Why does it matter? Their collective galactic energy going into the quantum. Oh, shit. So when I'm thinking, all us Earth beings, we get together, we think about the quantum, but we're, and trillions of species, not beings, but species, white, black, green, gray, purple colors we haven't imagined yet, interdimensional beings, folk. And all of those beings have an essence of, some more than others, but let's not nitpick. Let's just understand that even a clone's got a little bit of something to it because it's taking up space. It might not be fully understanding and human, but there's still a spark of stuff in there, intellect, if you will. But anyway, but the idea that I hadn't considered the collected, wait, just I hadn't considered burping in the middle of this sentence. I talk about our collective thought process on this planet. But I hadn't extended some of this. I know I got spirit guides and they're residing wherever they are. I mean, they might be on planet Pluto, but they're not, but it's a joke. But maybe they're sitting on Pluto and, we just got a really good interdimensional communication. Guess what? Don't need a radio. All these fools with all these antennas trying to reach aliens, all they got to do is call them up in here. All they got to do is open up their awareness. These guys don't want to talk to them. So a little while back, it was like A conversation with Guardian that, why don't these people understand? Is like, we don't want to talk to them jerks kind of thing, paraphrasing. Yeah. It's been a long time back. They're trying to say, when did that happen? Yeah, because I was trying to make a comparison of like, you'll speak to me, but you won't talk to him. That's what I mean. Anyway, um, they tell me I'm stretching the story. Okay, I'm stretching the story, but to the point still. Can't lie. I'm like, I'm stretching the story. All right, well, then I dreamed it, and I'm sorry you weren't included. My apologies. Got to be honest, even when it hurts. But anyway, to the point though about this, I had not included the beings in the universe. As much as I say, oh, we're all together in the universe, hadn't really brought them into my equation. Well, I assumed they were out there because of the planets, but I didn't really bring them in. Now, I don't know who they are. I have met some on other realms, but the I'm gonna get my butt kicked in other realms, but I can't prove it in this 3D reality. So one would say that it's astral at best, and I don't know, but could be past, could be future, could be present. I'm in another body. I don't know. But the idea that these things can coexist, and they do coexist, and to think that, we need a 5G or a cell phone or something to like communicate with beings from other places, that's just nonsense. I know where the thought came from. It was Drake who said it. You didn't say it. Drake said it. Okay, I got it straightened out. Anybody who's ever listened to Drake, Sam Muggsy, Kent Dunn, um, in that, why would ET want to talk to some idiots? That's where I got it from, not you. Sorry about that. Had to straighten that out. Yeah, it was nagging me too. I thought I heard it from you. Okay, anyway, having conversations with self here. Oh, well, actually, my guardian. Um, he said I was telling a lie, that I didn't say it, and he's right. I heard it through Drake, and I said it was him, and because I wasn't sure. And so, see, even right now, my guardian angel said, "You ain't gonna let this slip. You got to tell him you just told a fib." And I did. I fibbed. It was him, and it was actually Drake. Okay, but still, the idea that what ET would want to talk to some of these people, if they can't think beyond this little bit of thought, how can they understand communication with a being on the other side of the galaxy, or even from Mars? How could they accept this? Well, I don't know. Aren't you green? Well, no. Only at times when I playing with food color, but so how much of this should we believe, of this speculation? How much should we put our soul in this theoretical thinking? If we can't see it, feel it, or touch it, and if these folk won't include what the possibilities, now let me put this to you. The Russians have been doing this for a long time. They are way ahead of us. And it's sort of like Montauk but they find people who are willing to do this with abilities. So it's not like we're going to hold a gun to your head and we're going to electrocute you so you can learn how to, remote view, for example. No, anybody can remote view if they practice. Now, one of the things about remote viewing is that here's the thing that I question. When they're test subjects, the person who's making up the test knows what the test is, knows what the target is. So by definition, if they tap into the quantum, they will read his thoughts as to what he wants them to look for. So because he is the observer, he's the one who made the test, then the information is available in the quantum. So, as a remote viewer, if you tapped into his energy, you're not going to be remote viewing. You're going to be looking first at his thought to where to look. Wait a minute. So they're going to be guided, even though he's like, well, the answer is in this sealed envelope. Yeah, but he put it in there. So he put the information in the quantum. They got to go out there and, quote, remote view or telepathically communicate with the energy that he has about about what's in the envelope. So are they actually remote viewing, or are they actually putting pieces together? The person who put the 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 test together did. You follow me? Because that's more probable than saying they remote viewed this place on their own. Because otherwise, how did they find it? Because somebody thought that I want you to find this. They put a marker out in the quantum for the remote viewers to go look for. Why not just tell them? I want you to go see what's over there. Okay. Versus, I want you to think of what's in this, Well, now you're asking them to be telepathic, to tune into your thought wave. And there are people who can do that. But are they actually remote viewing? I think sometimes they're picking up the other person's thought. They're picking up quantum, but are they actually seeing in the room? I'm not saying that the remote viewing is impossible. I'm just saying that there are so many levels to understanding about the information that's in the quantum. And I'm using that as a broad spectrum for the universal energy. But so if you tap into it, my guardian's really pissed because I lied about that. I used his name in that story. I'm sorry. I mean it. I'm getting my butt whooped right now about that. And I have apologized for. Please, I'm sorry. Yes, I won't. I didn't mean to do it. Yeah. Yes, I did. I meant to tell the story, but I wasn't sure of the author. Anyway, shame on me for that. Um, One of the things that I asked last night when I was on the river was that, if I steer off the path a little bit, y'all correct me. I'm getting a switch after me, and it's deserved in a way. No, it is deserved, not in a way. It is deserved. Okay, because never mind. In the quantum, all the information is there. But to remote view something or to pick up on somebody's telepathic thoughts, aren't both of those then, if you believe in one, shouldn't you believe in the other, in the existence of? So it's like, So before we go into all of this stuff about this and that and back and forth and whether or not all this stuff is true or not, you got to go back to who planted the thought, who put the seed out there, is this AI controlling it, or is there are folks in the quantum that have a certain frequency that have attached to certain people and said, well, ooh, I'm God, listen to me, So we need to understand, we need to decipher what these folks are trying to tell us. Some of them got it's really good up to a point, and then they throw that in theory out there. Beware of theory. Beware of the earth. Oh, it's so many thousands of years old. Yeah, well, even some of the scientists admit that carbon dating sucks. And so what they're claiming is millions of years old might only be 1,000, or it might be 500 million years old. They're just guessing, but they claim it's solid science. So, yeah, anyone can remote view. Right, Max. Wish I had a garden. Yeah. Blessings and hugs. Responses given for remote viewing sessions are not what I expect to get his responses. Hiding the question gives validity to the answer. If people know where they're going, they can apply their own impressions on it. Right. And it's like, are you actually seeing it And how would you see it unless you know how to astral project? So a remote viewing means you're going to try to access the information that's already in the quantum. It's sort of like doing a Google search, in my humble opinion. So if I'm doing a Google search in the remote view and I get a picture of blah blah, I go, well, that looks like that's the one to me. Where somebody else got another picture of somewhere, and they're attributing it to that. And what if the people who are remote viewing, because they know each other's frequency, what if they're exchanging thoughts out there and they're not aware of it because they're all searching for the same thing? I mean, if you're going to understand one thing, then you got to understand there are a lot of tricks in this. You can't just accept, boom, this is it. Too many variables. There's the fourth dimension. There are other dimensional variables. There is all kinds of stuff. So again, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist or folks can't do it. I'm saying there are a lot of variables involved in how it's done or how it could be accurate, I guess. I believe it's possible. Absolutely. I've seen things in a remote I wished I had never seen. And so, in that respect, yes, we have to understand that, in the universe, one of the things a shaman begins with is all things are possible. You have to believe that all things are possible. Not that they exist, but that all things are possible. And with that, man, I've been at this an hour and 45 minutes. Whew. My friends, I love you to death. I've been trying to keep videos short, and here I am at an hour and 45 minutes again into this thing. So for various reasons, old men have to go to the John. I'm an old man and I got to go visit John or Joe or whoever it might be. Actually, I want to go outside and find out what this flashing is going on outside. It's really strange. It's almost like there's somebody out there with a flashlight, and I live down here on the edge of the woods. But anyway, I think I pretty much covered it. Just understand that there are some of these folk I love to death, and they're being sucked into this matrix crap. And I just please, 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 please don't do it. Understand there is the matrix of the universe. There it went again. There's the understanding of the universe. There's the matrix of the universe. And we are all a part of that, absolutely. But this idea that it's an artificial construct, look at the first word, artificial. Go outside, look up at the sky. Artificial? Only if you believe it's artificial. If you think it's a construct, if you think we live in a snow globe, that's your choice. I choose to understand that there are trillions of species of beings and quadrazillion million beyond belief folks is out there, and that a lot of them think like you and me. We want to live in peace and harmony. We'd like to go have spaghetti in Italy. I want real spaghetti. Anyway. But the idea is that people, from other planets are talking about the reason they come here is because we have chocolate and coffee. Okay. And sauerkraut, of all things. So it's like, well, why not? If in China, go to China, anyway. If I go to China, I'm going to eat at McDonald's, anyway. That's a bad joke. I love you all, my friends. I had premonitionary dreams. I got that. Jane, I love you, Cherry. Thank you very much. Yes. So, as a member of the League of Like-Minded Beings, that's the one thing I think does exist across the universe. And that's one of the things they want. I'm going to do a separate video about this. They gave me instructions on how to meet an alien. Yeah, protocol. That was really strange. Anyway, not for now. But the idea now is that, listen, stay out of the artificial matrix and stay in the natural matrix. Don't let them steal your essence and your soul. Don't let them steal your energy. Keep it. Keep your core energy strong. How long have I been preaching that mess, right? I love you all. It's Friday night. Well, nope, it's Saturday morning. Have a great weekend. It's supposed to be fairly cool down here and a lovely weekend. I plan on hopefully getting back out on the river again just to go floating around. But I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. I continue to pray that you and your friends, your family, your relatives, and all of your relations will continue to accept and receive all the blessings from the universe. They're always there for everyone. Continue to accept and receive and share the blessings of the universe with each and every individual that you meet. The two gentlemen I met last night, I shared the universe with them, and it was just great. Continue to share, continue to download, accept, and receive. Watch out for theories. Watch out for the science that has no backing, but they claim that it does. Understand, ask in your heart, does that sound right to me? Especially when they toss that theoretic around. A theoretical physicist means he thinks about it. Well, I love you all, and I'm thinking about it. Thank you very much. Shadow, blessings. I didn't see you on here before. Max Vision, Cherry, as always. Sherry, Marie, if you're still there, blessings to all of you and anyone else who comes. Just keep an eye on stuff around you. They're going to try to suck your energy in. They're going to try to suck your essence in. And they're going to try their damnedest to convince us all that this is artificial construct. Until the computer came along, that wasn't a theory. Just saying. I love you all. Be safe, be kind, and above all, be compassionate and keep your core energy as strong as you possibly can. We can win this in the long run. We just have to keep up the faith.